So welcome all. This is our 14th edition. If you're joining for the first time, welcome. And if you are a regular like Manish and others, then you know the drill. So we'll go through. Today we want to touch base on automated testing, and we all decided this topic in the last meeting. So we'll just cover the basics of automated testing. See a small demo of automated testing in next 1 hour. I have sufficient time. If it goes beyond that 1 hour, I'll stay. If you have to leave, feel free, no worries. So let's go to the normals that we talk about. Participation, we are doing pretty well. And as I said in past, even there is one person, I'm happy to keep going on with these sessions. Still this question being popped up so many times. I'm replying to so many people on emails and on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other places. There's a link. This links get updated every week. This will get updated tonight for next week, and you can register every week. The people who don't need to register every week are these. They have already opted in as a default attendee. If you are not in the list and want to leave the hassle of registering every week, just put it in on chat with your name and make me a default attendee. uh, Plus, if you are in this meeting and the meeting invite was forwarded by someone, then please also add your email ID, because I cannot get that email ID because that invite was forwarded. Okay, so let's move ahead and let's see what's we have for today. And I guess Chandan, you have some question. Luckily, I was seeing the
No,
chat. Okay, I see
no,
your hand
sorry,
raised.
sorry,
Okay, not a problem.
sorry.
I'll just lower the hand. Okay. So let's talk about automated testing. And the first question is, why not? You know, uh, First question that you may think while you listen about it is, I'm a developer. Why should I be doing testing? The second most obvious answer or question that you have in your mind is from the dynamic snap word is customers should test. I don't know their processes, and why should I test? The next common question that you'll think in your mind is, what about the cost of testing, as in how much effort, how much resources I'll need, how many human beings I'll need to test something which I'm being developing, and what additional resources I'll have to spend if I invest my time into automated testing or any type of testing. Now let's understand why it is important. And the biggest reason of why it's important is the frequency of releases that are coming in the product. I feel that's one of the major reason of opting in for automated testing. And the reason behind it is, every 6 months there is a new release, and your code need to be tested and verified in the next release. Now you may not have customers on SaaS, but you still want to invest in it because their future may be in SaaS. And in SaaS, you can't delay the release that's coming up from Microsoft. It will get into the system either you want it or you don't want it, like your Windows update. There is a significant amount of time that Microsoft provides customers before they can upgrade. But after 3 months, I guess that's the timeline today. After the release of the product, in next 3 months, everybody will get upgraded to the latest and greatest release. How it impacts developers or partners is, the pertinent extensions that you have written will need to be tested with the next version that's coming up. Now you can rely on customer testing, but when you do upgrades and things like that on on-prem or in nav world, think about the time frame that customer take for testing. It's a pretty good amount of time that customer takes for testing their processes. You need to make it fast so that they can run automatically. You need to keep investing on it so that they are reusable. Every time the version changes, you can just click a button and all their custom pertinent extensions are tested. And they should be easy to use for you as partners and developers. So the first thing that we need to know is automated testing cannot be executed on the customer tenants, on the production tenants, if you want to call it. It's only allowed as of today with the partner license. So it's a tool for partners, not for customers. So a typical development cycle is you write some code, then somebody from your team, either a functional consultant or a developer, test that you call beta testing or a developer testing, and then it get deployed on the customer database. Then customer test it. At any point, if there is a problem, you as a developer fix it, and then you follow the same chain. So if you look in that diagram, automated testing fits into the point where you do beta testing. A developer tests his own code or another developer code. So that's where automated testing becomes important. And it's not something new in the product. Automated testing in Dynamics Nav, if I'm not wrong, was added in Nav 2009. People are using it in Dynamics Nav, and that makes their journey for upgrades and moving to SaaS with all these extensions is more simpler because they have tests written around their functionalities. So before we move ahead on this uh, testing topic, can everybody can open this link, and there are 2 3 questions in this. Let me share that link in chat so that it's easy to copy, so that we have an idea of who knows about it, how much you know about it, and what's your experience with automated testing. So let me put that link in chat. So everybody can go ahead, click on this link, and we'll see result popping up here. So let me know if you have any issues. I'll wait for a minute or so. Okay. Okay. 14. I see 18 people in the meeting. I guess that's including me, but I'll wait for one more person, somebody who haven't voted. But okay, I'll move next. Okay. Okay. Is that it? I think that's it. Others are not in the meeting, I guess. Let me go to the last question. I guess that's it. Okay. So I'll minimize this. Thanks for that. That gives me an idea how should I start with this. Okay. So if you haven't heard about it, there's a common pattern about automated testing, and that pattern is called given when then. And that's very important when you talk about automated testing, and we'll see a demo of it in the mid of the session. So a given is a set of precondition that is already exists in the system. Let's say there's a customization that you are doing on the item card. You are adding a field and that you want on item ledger entry. So the given is that an item exists, and then when is when an event occur, or when you do that customization, or when you click on a button, and then is the expected outcome that customer is expecting. So it, I prefer the customer requirement coming into this fashion, that what you have, what you want, and at what condition, which is given when and then. What you have, what user will do, and then what outcome is expected. And when we see the demo, you'll see that the snippet that Microsoft have built around it also gives you a layout in the same format, that what is given at what event, and then what the customer expect as an output. Now when we think about it, and there was already a question that somebody sent me during this week, that how do I set up my environment? So for setting up an environment on Dockers, because that's one of the common thing today for setting up your development environment. If you already have a Docker setup on your system or on your servers, you can use this command called import toolkit in BC container. If you have the Docker setup, if your Docker database is there, but there's no test toolkit, you can run this command. If you don't want Microsoft commands, then you can Microsoft test loaded, then you can check on this. This will enable you to write automated test. This includes some test libraries and frameworks and all. If you want Microsoft, all the Microsoft based Microsoft test into your tenant, then leave this unchecked and it will install all those. If you are setting up a new Docker environment, then you actually add either of these two parameters. If you add include test toolkit, it will install Microsoft test cases also, and the test framework and test libraries. If you don't want Microsoft test, which Microsoft have written, then you can just include test libraries only, and that will enable your Docker environment with the automated test. Now, if you are not using Docker, then how you do it on your on-prem? And I don't know why you will not use Dockers, but let's suppose. Then you'll have to install all of these. These are the minimum extensions that comes in your product DVD that you need to install on your tenant when you set up locally. If you want to use Microsoft test cases, as I said earlier, on-prem, you'll have to install all these apps. Microsoft has broken all these tests into logical pieces. Tests for fixed asset, tests for dimensions, tests for bank. And all these are the tests that Microsoft runs when they release their product or before releasing their product. So these are already ran on Microsoft test, on Microsoft database. If you want to use them, no worry, you can install them on your local environment like this by installing all these apps, or in Docker by just running one command. I ran it today. Here it is, maybe half an hour before this meeting. So I just included the test library. I don't have Microsoft test, and these are the apps that got published when I did this. So this will let me write my own test. So this is minimum. If you uncheck this, then it'll also install all the Microsoft tests that you can see here. Okay, so that's about setup. As I was saying earlier, You need to change the development methodology. I can not vouch for everybody, but most of the developers used break fix approach in dynamic snap world. And okay, it's developed, let's deploy it. If it will break, we'll fix it. When you work with AL and VS code, the the development methodology need to be changed. And we'll see what that means is that you need to start with writing the test. And once you have written the test based on the given when then you actually write your app. And then you execute test. If it fails, then you correct your app. If it passes, then you deploy it. But you need to write test first. And at this point, I'll take you back to the slide number 1, where we were talking about number of resources or developers that will require to write all these tests. If you as a developer will write the app first, then your test as a human, your mind will always write test around the customization that you have written. So that's very important that you first write the app. Oh, sorry, first you write the test. Once you write the test based on the customer requirement, then write the app. At that point, as a single individual, you can be wearing multiple hats, first as a tester and then as a developer. So you don't need a second eye or a second person to write the test for it, because you will need a developer to write the test. A functional consultant cannot write the test because it's again a code. Any questions at this point? Because I normally hear questions at this point most of the time. Okay. So let's understand the process flow of with this new methodology, how you will write your pertinent extensions for your customers. You'll start writing by writing a test. That's what is the first thing that you'll write. Once you have written your test, then you will test it. Does it fails? Which also means that your app is ready at this point. If it doesn't fail, very good. If it fails, then you write the minimum code to pass the test. Where? In your app, not on your test, because your test should be covering all the scenarios based on given when then. When you have written it, then you test it again. It may fail or it may not fail, and I might have placed them in wrong ways. Oh, sorry, yeah, I have written them in the right phase. Then you go up. But if it doesn't fail, then you refactor. Yeah, I place it again, refactor the code and test it again, which is enhancing your app. Then if it is fail, you go back into the cycle again. And if it doesn't fail, then you are done with this app and you start from the beginning. So, lots of talking around it. Let's come to an actual scenario which we'll use today. It's a very simple requirement from a customer. Customer requires a field on the customer card called demo text. And whenever a user creates a sales code, the demo text should get copied from the customer to the sales code. Very simple requirement. So let's translate that requirement into our given when then. So your given is a customer with the demo text filled in. There's a customer, but the demo text will be filled in. And then the when is when a user creates a sales code. And then what customer want is a demo text in the sales code is populated from the customer. Till this point, is it clear how that given when then places into the picture while we are writing these customer requirements? Anyone?
Yes, Saurabh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's get into the product. A lot of talking we have done, and let's use our GitHub repo if I have it open. Yes, let me clone this. Okay, let me see where is the VS code. Here it is. Let's clone the repo. Okay. And let me place it here. Um, okay. Okay. So what I've already done is I have uh, created the folders that are required, which is automated testing app and automated testing test. There's nothing inside them. It's completely empty, but I have created the folder so that we save some time. And people who were there in the last meeting, the file handling app is in the same repo, so you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so what I've done, let's look at the app. I have added the app.json, which talks about that this is the app, which is as simple as you will build the app. So let me download the symbols here. Okay, that's done. Now let me open the test. The only thing that you need to remember while writing the test app is it have more dependencies than the base Microsoft app that you normally write. So these are the base Microsoft dependencies. But for writing test, you need to have some additional dependency. One is the dependency to the actual app that you are writing. And the reason is because the customization that you are writing it, this another extension, this is another extension, the testing extension should know about that customization. So for that, I have added this dependency to my actual app, this app. And then these are the Microsoft dependencies for the test, which are these 5 dependencies, which is library assert. We'll see what that means. Any system application test libraries, test libraries, and test runner. And you can see all these on your tenant when you run that install test toolkit on your Docker environment or on your on-prem. So these are the minimum dependencies that you need to add to write test. Okay. And this is the dependency that you need to put in on your test so that it understand that those custom fields or the custom code that you have written, it gets that dependencies of those custom objects that you're writing. Otherwise, the test extension will not know whatever customization you have done on the app. So let's download symbol for this also. Okay. All the symbols for this are downloaded other than one symbol, which is the app symbol of this automated testing demo. I don't see that here yet. Okay. And this is my automated testing app, which have only three Microsoft symbols downloaded. Okay, so as we said earlier, we'll first write the test. Any questions at this point before we actually start writing the code?
We are okay. We can proceed.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so as I said, we'll write the app or test first. So let's create a source folder inside it so that we can write our code inside that. And then inside that source, I'll add a new folder after code unit because your tests are written into code units. And then inside that, I'll add a new file. Let's say we'll call it as demo test or demo text test.al, and that's using the Microsoft format code unit.al. We use the snippet for creating a code unit. Our code unit is created, and let's give it a number and let's give it a name. Okay. I don't need the on run trigger and the variable as of now. So the first thing that we need to understand that how system will know that it is a test code unit or not, there is a subtype on the code unit that you need to add. That subtype is test. Based on this subtype, system understand that it is a test code unit. And what test code unit means is whenever system finds and you execute the test, the system automatically runs the on run function on that library, on that code unit, and all the function which are of type text test. So you can have normal function into it, you can have test function into it, you have other things in test like handler functions and all, which are not for today's session. But the subtype test explains the system that it is a code unit of type test, and the behavior of it is it will run the on run trigger by default, and then all the uh, functions which are tagged as type of test. So let's create the test function, and there is a snippet from Microsoft for it called test procedure. If you see here, there's an example as I was saying earlier. When a test is created, it gives you the instructions like given, when, and then. So let's create the test procedure. And this is always will get tagged at the top as test so that the system knows that this function need to be run whenever this code unit is executed. So let's go back to the slide and see what was our customer requirement. Okay, let me bring it up here so that we keep an eye on this. A customer with a demo text. So that means we need to have a customer present into the system, and we are testing a sales code creation process. So I'll name the function as, let's say, test sales code creation. And then as we know, the given is, I'll write the same text here, a customer with demo text so that other can understand what I'm trying to test. And when a sales code is created, then demo text in sales code is populated from customer. So that's what our given when then was. So now I need a customer. So I'll create a variable of customer of type record. Now I need to create a customer. So I'm not going to do a init insert and all that thing, because I might miss certain fields. So what I'm going to do is I'm using the base Microsoft libraries that are added when you install those extensions. And one of the library that you will use while you are writing your customizations or test around sales area is called library sales. So that is library, and there are so many libraries as you can see here. Okay, so let me choose sales. Alright. Now library sales gives me flexibility of doing things. Let's see what they are. Those are library sales dot. If I have to create a customer, let me do a customer. It says create customer. So I don't need to worry about that init and insert and how that will happen. I can just call this function, and it requires a parameter of type customer, the record variable. So I'll pass it. What this library will return me is a customer record created, which is not be stored in your database. It is just created for the test. And once the test is over, that data will get eliminated automatically. So it's just for testing. Now, once this is done, your customer need to have a field for your testing. So let's see what we want to call it. We want to call it demo text. Okay, but we haven't created that field yet. So now we need our test will fail if we, as in, we cannot continue with our test until unless that field exists in the system. So what I'll do is I'll save this and I'll create that field first. So I'll again create a folder here called source, and then inside that I'll create a folder called table extension, and then a new file. Okay, oh, my cursor have moved. New file, and let's say it customer.table extension.al. I'm creating a table extension, and then I need to give it an ID. So let's use the first ID that is free that I have, which is 50,000. And I'm adding this prefix, which is not registered, but just to follow the standard STH customer, which is extending the customer table. I just need a field here, T field at ID 50,000, and my field is called as demo text. Yes, and of type text 20. Let's assume. Okay, and then it need a caption because that should be different. Text. Okay. Now I need the same field in my sales code table. So what I'll do is I'll copy this so that it's easier. And I'll add one more file here called my sales header table extension.al. And I'll change it to this and 50,001 sales header, extending the sales header. Okay. So now I have the field, and my app will understand it. So what I'll do is I'll have to publish this so that my app understands and download the symbols for it. So I'll just publish this app, and with that, okay, this got published and it populated the client. I don't need it, let's say at this point. Okay, so that baseline structure, which is the fields, are created into the app so that my test now will understand those fields. For that, I'll download the symbols again, and it would have added the new symbol for the app because now the app is in the server, so it understands the app. And stop me, I'm not looking at the chat, so if you're typing something, sorry, you'll have to speak up. So now I can see the demo text added into my system or tenant. So once my demo text is added, I can refer it, and I'll say, let's say STH demo text is equal to, now I need to fill in a value. Now there are different ways that people use. I prefer to use a library from Microsoft, which is library, I guess, random, and that is code unit library random. Library random gives you functions which will give you some random data if you want. So like I need from library random, I need some data of type text. So I can say and text, which will give me a random text of, and it's asking me for the length. So I'll say whatever the length of it is, just 20. So this will give me a random text, and it says that it's may have a problem of overflowing because of text is here 20, and rand text will give me a text. Okay, but it'll return me an error. So let me fix it. There's a fix to add copy string. So it'll copy that string. If it is more than that, it'll not give me an error. Now I have got a customer from here. I have added the value of my custom field, and then
Saurabh,
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt you. Can you please zoom it out? Would be better.
zoom it
If
in
yeah,
like this.
yeah,
Looks good.
yeah, it's better now.
Okay, I can try more. Let's see if it
Yeah,
is.
it's more better.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you
man.
very much.
Thanks. Okay. So what I've done is I've used the library sales to create a customer, and then I've just added the value of my field so that my given is set with, which is a customer with the demo text. So now I have a customer at this point with the demo text value filled in. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is satisfy or execute the when. So for when, I need when a sales code is created. So like we can create a customer from the library sales, there will be a way to create a sales code. Create sales code for customer number, which will require what? Let's see. It requires a sales header and a customer number. Okay. So let's give it a sales header. Just my sales header. And then my customer number is whatever is here, which is customer dot number. So now I have the customer number keyed in where I have already assigned that value on my demo text. Now I need to satisfy the then condition, which is that the value that was in the customer demo text field, is it same value that is assigned on the sales code or not, right? And here comes one of the most common used library called library assert, which gives you the functions that will help you to test most of your scenarios. So library assert.
So Saurav,
Yeah.
uh, so this basically code unit library cells will going to create a temporary customer, right?
Yes.
So over there is a customer dot modify true. So if I have some custom code on the on modify of
It will execute
customer,
that.
will it execute or not?
Yes, it will execute that. All your subscriber will be called.
Okay,
It will
and that
behave
will
as normal
impact or
text.
it will
No,
revert back.
it will revert back anything that it has modified.
Okay, great.
Okay. Okay. And it is not library assert, it's just assert, I
It's
guess.
assert code unit only.
Yeah. Thanks, man. So that's what I call library assert. So at this point, I want to test the values that are in two different records. One is on sales header and one is on my customer record that I created for this test. I'll use my library assert, which is assert, and there are these functions. Are the values that you are trying to check, are they equal? Are they not equal? Are they nearly equal? And you can go deep into it. Expected error. Are you expecting an error? Error code and things like that. What we need right now is, are they equal? And what we are comparing is that my customer dot my demo text, is it equal? And the second parameter is, the first is expected. I'm expecting this value, and the actual value that I'm getting is on my sales header dot sdh demo text. And then the last parameter on this is a message in case if this test fails. Nothing. If this test fails, then say demo text invalid in sales code. So this is my test around that functionality. Now at this point, I have just developed the bare minimum part of my app, which is I've just added the fields. So at this point, when I try to run this test, it should fail. all the tests should fail when I'm trying to run it when the code for my app is not written. Does that make sense at this point? That it should fail at this point?
Yes, sir. Because there
Yeah.
is no logic to push it from customer to sales code.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm changing the startup object ID of the test page. By default, it's customer. You can go there if you want, but I'm just changing it to the test page that is in Business Center. So let's publish this, and we need to test this. When I publish this, and let me stop the debugger. Okay, save it. Okay. So this will load the page, which is 130401, where all the Microsoft tests will be available if you have installed them. But as I haven't installed them, this page should be empty. So at this point, you can get the test code unit that are available on your tenant, and there can be one or more. So when you say select a test code unit, system will go behind the scene, scan all the code units of subtype test, and will show you in the menu. So our test is this with object ID 89000. Let's click OK. There's one function on that of type test. So let's run the test. Active code unit, yes. So it's right now creating that customer. Thank you. This is slow on my system because this database or this tenant is used for so many things. Normally this test will run pretty faster. Just one line of test. So eventually it will create that customer, then use that customer to create that sales code. Once the sales code is created, then it'll call let's open that code while this is executing. I guess this is it. Yeah. So then it'll create that code and then it'll check that is it matching or not. And then at the end, it'll show you error here. It should not take this much time for sure. Okay, that's a little bit off. Let me refresh this. I might be doing some of the testing on this. Okay, let me log into the other instance of it. Okay. Okay. So test. Get test. Okay. Once it's here, okay, let's run the test. Okay. Okay, so while this is happening, I don't know why it's taking so long. Normally runs faster. But let's write the code that we need after this test execute in our app so that we can actually test it later. I'll not deploy it once until this test is done. So now we have added the field into the customer table, and we have also added the field into our sales at a table. So now we need that code to be written so that the value transfers from customer table to the sales at a table. So let's add a folder in the source and we'll call it code unit. And let's add a code unit inside it. Just to make it simple, I'll name it as table 36 subscribers. There are different style people use, so I'm not debating on that. But if you're not building individual extension for your customer, then this is one of the common style that people use, that one code unit per base Microsoft object. Okay, so let's create the code unit for our subscriber and let's number it 50,000 and I call it as at the prefix. Okay. At this point, what I want is when the user selects the customer on the sales header, sales order, in our case, sales code, then it should copy the value. So there should be a even subscriber at that point. Okay. And that is on my table at database is here, and the event should be let me see, it should be on after something. Copy, there is a function I know, copy. Okay, on after copy, anybody knows, I'll have to test that scenario otherwise, but let's pick one. Send to customer address, that's one. Okay, and then there is no element because it's a integration event, and the skip is false, and the missing permission is also set as false. Okay. And then my assignment or function name is copy the new text, and then I'll add the normals, which is the target and the source, and I'll write one single line of code, which is my sales. It's not generating that sales at a symbol. Okay. Sales header dot validate. You should always write validate from my sell to customer dot demo text. Let's see what happened behind the scene. We haven't published this, but this is not working. That's odd. Okay, let me run it again. Mm-mm. Okay, that seems a problem. Let me restart the container that I have. Just give me a while. I haven't thought around it. Okay. So yeah, till then, any questions while this gets loaded?
Yes, Saurav, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So for the Docker environment, we can just import the toolkit by creating the container. So for on-prem, you mentioned that these 5 apps we need to install, right?
Right.
Yeah. Previously, in till we can directly import the test toolkit from the dev environment, but for the BC16 on-prem, if we need to install all these 5 apps, so from where we can find these apps? Because the test toolkit folder is not there in the 16, so there is somewhere else in the
So
folder.
here it is. These are all Microsoft test in the application base app test. And these are Microsoft test. These are not the libraries that I was talking about. Okay.
Okay.
So these are the test. And if you come back here, there should be on the application, there should be a test framework, which will have the
So
test libraries, any, as I was telling,
any and assert is there, right?
any assert, and then test runners are these.
Yeah.
Test
So
runner.
these are the 3 ones. And the system test library, I'm not able to find the system test library.
That you will find here, system application test and system test libraries.
Okay. Okay. So they have moved into a different folder. Okay.
That's based on which extension they fulfill. This is an
Okay.
application,
Hmm.
extension.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, let's try one more time.
So one question
Go ahead.
me means if I'm not having configured my Docker, so I can use these apps with on-prem environment, and I
Yes.
can okay.
Yeah,
And if
you just need to
if
install all these apps which are available
okay.
in your product DVD.
Thank you. This was the thank you very much.
Okay. So in the meantime, this ran. Sorry for the delay on this. It was erroring out for some reason, but if you see, it says with my error message called demo text invalid in the sales code. It doesn't show you the values. It doesn't create a customer. It doesn't create the sales code, the test routine that you have added. So now let's write the minimum code that we need, which we have already written to pass this test, which is the actual app as we were writing here. Let this get copied. And this is, where is the app? Yeah. So this is the app part of the code that we were writing, which is subscribing to that function, that event, and then writing that app. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So with this minimum code, your test should pass, right? This is the bare minimum code that you'll have to write to pass your test. And based on this code, the test will pass. So let's deploy this. I'm getting confused in my screens right now. So let me pick, yeah. Okay. But as we all are Navigen or Business Central customer, we understand, and that was the first question in the survey, is do we need to know the base product or base application from the perspective of being functional as well as at the same time of being technical? So at this point, the customer requirement only says that when it creates a sales code. It doesn't say that when it creates a sales order or a sales invoice or a written order. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The customer requirement only says that when a user creates a sales code, it doesn't talk around when it creates a sales order. He might want it, but I, as a developer, will not assume it until unless a customer says it specifically.
So Saurav, I have one question over here. So
Mhm.
can we write in a test app that the text from customer should not flow to order, it should
No,
only flow to code?
it's just a test, right? It will test what you have written.
Okay.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a failing test. And my
Okay.
failing test is a copy of this test. So what I'll do is I'll copy this test and stop me wherever it gets confusing. I know sometimes it takes time. So I'm writing my next test. which is a copy of this, and I'm saying this time it's invoice creation, let's say. Okay. And the customer will create it as it is. We'll have this, and when a sales invoice is created. So let's change this and let's say it create sales invoice for customer. And then the semantics are same. At this point, what I'm doing is I'm trying to create an invoice. At this time, my assert statement cannot be this, right? Because based on the customer requirement, in case of creating an invoice, the values should not match.
Right.
What the values on customer and what is on your invoice. So emotex and sales invoice is not populated from customer. So I'll just tweak this one line, which is library assert.r not equal. And the rest remain same. As a tester, if I know the product, then I know that the same behind the scene, the same table, which is sales header, is used to store multiple sales document. So as a tester, I also need to write a test that will fail. But a test should not fail. It should pass. In this case, it should test a opposite of what is expected. Is that clear?
Yes.
This one, if this test pass, if this sales invoice test creation test pass, that means the code that developer is writing is correct. If this fails, then the code that developer is writing is incorrect. And we'll see what that means now. So at this point, I have created a test which will pass, and this one which will fail. And why I'm saying it this will fail is because if you see here on the app, I have not written a condition. So at this point, it will run for all the cases. Correct? It will run for the sales order, it will run for the sales invoice, it will run for credit memos and everything. So once this get deployed, I'll deploy my test, we'll test it again. The first one should pass because that's what I'm expecting. But the second one in this case will fail because my developer, I as a developer, let's put it this way, have not written the code in the way I should have been writing it. So here is my test. Let's publish the test. Okay. I would delete these lines and I'll load it again so that I get two tests now. Get test code unit, select the test code unit, and 89000. Okay, so now I have two tests. Let's run the test. Oh, there was a debugger on, I guess. It's fluctuating here, so that means I need to continue this. Stop the debugger. Okay, so my test sales code creation passed because it got the value when it was creating the sales code. But my sales invoice creation failed because it was not expecting the value that was at the customer. It was expecting a blank value, more or less, if you want to say this. Okay, and the error message is assert value are not equal. Expected any value, expect this, and this is the actual value. And the actual value is also same. And the message that we have given is demo text invalid on the sales invoice. So this test give me an idea that I need to go back to as a developer and fix my app. which is I need to come here and I need to add a condition. Okay. Now I'll publish my app back. Once my app is available, which is now available, let's run the test again. Now, there was a change in the app, so it needs to be refreshed. Let's refresh it and let's run it. Code unit. What did happen? Okay, I might have to clear this again. Clear it again. Okay, and run it again. What changes I have done? Okay, let me use this instance and run my test. Get test. Okay, and then run the test. Code unit. So at this point, because the code was written correctly now, with a condition added on my subscriber, both the tests actually passed. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have already run out of time. So let me continue from where we have left to give you more into this. Okay. I've done the demo. Let's talk about the references. These are the same references as you all know. I keep on updating this repo on the GitHub. So we'll just update that also today. So there are 5 changes that I've made, and let me stage them all. Okay, that's staged. Let me add the commit tag. Discussion on what is the date today? Makes it easier for me. 26 September 2020. Commit it locally. Once this is done, discussion 6 2020 bunch, and then let me push these changes back to Git. Okay. So while this is happening, let it happen. Okay. So you can clone this repo anytime. All the labs that we have done here, which is today's lab and the last week lab about the file management, is available in the same repo with these 3 different folders in the same workspace. There's a link from MSDN which talks about testing your application, how you need to do it. And then this is the book from Luke Van, if I'm spelling it correct. I have read this book, but I cannot, follow the same way. My approach is a little bit different. I tend to do things and then learn it. So I would recommend to have this book if you don't have it. It talks about all the basics as well as the advanced level of automated testing, like how you test your reports, how you handle, like if you have to test something where you need to release a document and then you get a pop-up that do you want to release that order, how you handle those things in your automated test, or how you test that a field is editable on page or not. So you'll get in-depth knowledge, and that's what I'm referring while I was learning automated testing. I'm still learning, more or less, but that gives you a concise detail, a everything written in the well documented format, how you need to go towards automated testing. So if you haven't, I'd go back and refer to it. Next week, because that's the first week of the month, as we discussed earlier, we'll do question and answer. But after that week, let's decide the topic on the same URL if you still have it. And I'll switch to the next question so that you can continue voting. The link is still in the chat. If anybody cannot find it, let me know. A link should be in chat about the, and I'm talking about next to next week. Next week is just question and answer. There are some questions that are already added by people. So next week we'll take it, which is October 3rd, but this selection is for October 10th that we are doing right now. And after that, we can open it for questions or general discussions if you guys want to stay. Okay. She'll see 16 people, 6 more votes, I guess. 5 more or 4 more, I guess, because 16th is me.
Saurav, could you please share the link again?
Okay. Let me do that right now in the chat. Okay. Here it is. And yeah, we have other topics that we decided a few weeks ago, but I'll come to that. I don't want to lose focus of things that we thought were important on the first week.
Right, Saurav. And that topic that I added last week, JSON object.
Yeah, and yeah, people who are new here, it's not mandatory to me presenting every time. I don't know Jyotsna is here or not. She already opted in for one topic, but anybody else want to talk about anything, let me know. We can feel free to present about things that and others don't. So it's still, I guess we are missing 3 votes, but I'll leave it here, I guess, at this point. 7. Okay. I'll maybe keep watching this while this is happening. So let's open it for open discussions, as the name says. So anybody have anything to ask? As in, there are so many people. I would rather let people raise their hands and unmute themselves one by one. And around this topic or anything else that you want to talk around. Okay, Manish, you have something?
So, Saurav, with this automation testing, so what we need to do, firstly, we need to create a structure, what I understood, and then go for the test cases. Is this the step we have to follow?
Structure meaning?
Structure meaning in the sense we have to create fields. If table is custom table or anything is required, we have to create that. And
Yeah,
then we can
schema
move
you need
ahead
to
with our
create.
test cases.
Yeah, schema you'll have to create
Yes, yes.
first. That's for sure.
Okay.
That's the bare minimum, as in.
Okay.
Chandan, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, Saurabh, I have a query like, so our actual development will be similar to that you presented tonight, like using the library, or it will be on the actual objects?
No, so let me share my screen again if I still have it. Yeah. So your actual development is happening in this app. Okay. This is your app where if you notice our code is, we have a table extension on customer table. You might have some page extension also and a sales center extension. And then the code is this. This is your actual code that you're writing.
Yeah.
That's it. But then there is a separate app in the same workspace called test. Now this test have the test scenarios that you want to test for your app, which is this. I want to test the sales order, sales code creation process, and I want to test the sales invoice creation process.
Yeah.
So when you are running your automated test from that page, it's just running this code unit, but your actual code is here in the app.
Okay.
And on a customer environment, you never deploy the test because their license don't have permission to execute the test. So that's why I said it's a partner or a developer friendly thing, automated test. They are not for customer yet.
Right. My next Saurabh is, in test we are using the libraries. So can we use, like we have used the sales library? So is it the standard process to use the libraries, or you can, like you are creating the customer from library? So can we declare a variable of customer and we can do the init insert? Is it
Yes,
required or it is not required?
you can do, but when you go into a complex situation, like if you have to create a customer, then you have to create a sales order against it, and then you have to post it to test something. Okay. And that's
Yeah.
what I was trying to cover. If we all would have opted the advanced of this, that when the sales order actually get posted, so then you are doing a multi-step thing where you want to make sure that your customer has the mandatory field that are required to post a sales order. You can't just do a customer number and move ahead with it, right? You
Yeah.
need to have posting groups and things like that. And at the same time, you want to make sure that your sales order or the sales invoice that you're creating have the mandatory field that will let it post, which is a item line or a GL line and things like that.
Yeah.
So these library help you to create those document in the way that it can actually flow till the end of the process.
Yes. Right.
So you can always create it. To answer your question, you can always do a customer.init and insert, not
Mhm.
incorrect. But while doing that, if you try to create an invoice out of it, and if it doesn't have a posting group, you'll get an error message in the normal
Mhm.
scenario also, as a user. So that's where library helps you. So like if you go inside this function, Microsoft is creating all these payment method, posting types, posting setups, bad. So you don't have to do all this. They are also doing init and insert, you know,
Yes. Right.
but
Got
they are making sure that you don't have to do it manually every time. You can just, leave it to them and they'll update it and give it to you. So that's
got it.
helpful with the library, as in you can always do your init and insert. That's not a problem.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Saurabh.
Okay. Naveen, I see your hand raised.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
man.
Saurabh, here we have used the test function, okay, and
Yep.
we have created a random customer here, and we have modified the field SDH demo text in this newly created customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So instead of create a new customer, if I'll write the first statement as a customer dot get customer number as a 10,000, and
Mm-hmm.
then I will do this modification. So as this is a test function, so my actual customer will be modified with this field
No,
or no?
no. A
Okay.
test any data that is created by test, and there is a special property that you might have to set on the test runner. I don't exactly know where,
Mhm.
but which will retain the data. But by default, if you
Yeah.
do any changes on your record, they all will get rolled back after the test execution is completed.
Okay. Because that is more important if the
Agree.
data is rolled back. Yeah.
Agree.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything else for today? Dynamics Lancers. I don't see
Saurabh,
your
Saurabh,
names. Yeah.
Gaurav.
Hey, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good, sir.
So,
Tell me.
Saurabh, so what should you suggest? What should be the complexity of development? For that, we need to write this test code. So, does even a small development requires it, or how should we focus on development and relate with this test script?
So each it's it's an investment towards the future of your customization. As in every customization starts with the field. You start normally either writing a new table or writing a new field or writing one line of code, and then at the end of the at the end of the era, maybe in 6 months or a year, maybe it becomes an add-on or a solution that multiple customer want. So if while you're working on your pertinent extensions for your customer, if you start writing your test as you are customizing them, think about the long term benefit that will come with it. Like if you implement them on Business Central 16 on prem, let's say, then they move to Business Central 17 next year, and then to 18 next year, and 19, every year, two releases. Your code need to comply with the changes that are happening in the product. So there are two types of changes that can break your code. One is that Microsoft have done a destructive change in a table schema or somewhere in the code, or a function became obsolete. That's a compile time error that you'll see in your problem area, that this function is no longer supported by Microsoft, and that you
Correct.
can fix. But then the other thing which we all say as a developer, that there is no compile time issue, but there can be a runtime issue. So that runtime issue you are handling with this automated test.
Yes, agree.
So eventually when you think about your SaaS customers, and they keep on upgrading every 6 months, and they don't, Microsoft is upgrading them every 6 months, they need to have a possibility that they can quickly test all their customization for runtime issues. So that's where it's kind of return on investment at that point.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, sir, anything else, sir?
No,
Okay,
thanks a lot.
thanks, man. Anybody else have anything else?
No.
No, sir, is not like now, but we need to do this, then we can proceed.
I can't hear you properly, Aditya.
I was saying, sir, that after performing certain tasks, then only we can come to a scenario that it's a very useful and a great thing. That,
Yeah, as in it's so, like in typical development scenarios, you will have a different person as a tester, or a human as a tester, and a different human as a developer. So the writing of the test is very important first, because at that point you don't know that what you are actually going to write as an app. So if you focus on your customer requirement with this given when then pattern and tags, and then write your test first, then you're sure that whenever you will write your customization, you are not thinking about your test. You're actually writing your customization then. But your test is already written. And you can't reverse this pattern, because then your test will always depend on what you have written.
exactly, sir.
So yeah, as in, if possible, there should be two developers for every app that you're writing. One was writing test and one was writing the app actually. But that's kind of going a little bit beyond in our space of NAB or Business Central.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, anybody?
Yes, Nish.
Hey, yeah,
Yeah,
Nishan.
I have one question that when we are writing a test cases, right? So,
Mhm.
uh, how does it impact that our test cases, what the test case I have written is not failing the other test cases scenarios? Is something related? Because when we were doing this, I mean, earlier when in 2013 when we are doing it
Mhm.
for NAP 13 R2, when we are submitting our test cases to Microsoft servers, okay,
Mhm.
our test cases failing the other test cases also. So how does it we check here in? in this case how it will test here.
Okay,
That
so
our test case is not
got
creating.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually, in dynamic snap world, what used to happen is you had one database where everything was an object. So, like, if there are five ISVs that are working on a customer database, then all those five ISV code used to reside in the same database. And any test that you write will also invoke their customization or their code that they have written. With the introduction of AL, you can always, like I was saying, create a Docker environment where you are writing your app. You're not dependent on what ISVs your customer are using. They might use five ISVs, but your app, until unless it need to do something specific to a ISV, is not related to, or there is no other code of that ISV. So at this point, if my customer is using, let's say, five more ISVs, my development have no reference of that ISV because I don't need to customize anything for them. So my test is completely independent to other extension that are deployed on my customer tenant. So it will never fail because of, or it will never fail other test cases for other extensions because they are completely independent.
Okay.
So in nav it used to happen because everything was residing under one database. If you do a customer.insert, if there is an ISV who have a code on insert, that will also get called with your code. So that's the reason that other tests were failing in your case on prem.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if nobody, then I guess we can call it for a day. And then the branch is here. If you have not noticed it, it's here. I haven't uh, created my pull request for the changes that I've done, but I'll do it in a minute or so, and that it will be ready for anybody to download the source code if they want. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks a lot for the wonderful session.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Thank
Saurabh.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks.
sir, for a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Saurav.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Saurabh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Saurabh.
Thanks. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Saurav.
Thank you. Welcome.